Good evening, friends. In today's session, we will understand what SAP ERP is and what SAP S4 HANA is. And this session is being brought to you by eLearnerFlow. The objective of this session is to understand why SAP, who will be benefiting from taking this course, and understand what ERP software is, understand what are the different ERP softwares that are available in the market, the SAP Products and Naming Convention, various modules in SAP, and a little about ABAP versus HANA. SAP can fit any size of business or industry. It can fit small companies, medium companies, up to Fortune 500 companies. Initially, SAP was implemented majorly by the bigger companies, and as time progressed, the medium and smaller companies too implemented SAP. It is ideal for any kind of business. SAP has been versatile, and there are several kinds of industries and businesses that are currently using SAP. We have auto industry, we have oil industry, we have chemical industry, we have paint industry, we have high-tech electronics, we have a lot of manufacturing companies using SAP, we have pharmaceuticals and healthcare using SAP, and there are several other industries and businesses that are using SAP. And SAP does not offer any unnecessary functionality and unwanted functionality. It is purely based on the business processes and related to what an industry generally uses in the industry process. When compared to other ERP systems, SAP offers the quickest financial payback and shorter implementation time. There are several studies that have been done, and there are several statistics available online. We will quickly see some of the statistics and understand how quickly SAP helps in the payback. SAP usually requires less customization than the other ERP systems. There are a lot of things that are pre-configured by SAP that can be used while implementing SAP. For certain specific requirements of the company, you can customize depending on the requirements and needs of the company. SAP is very popular and widely used compared to other ERPs, and SAP also has a highest market share. If you look at the comparison chart, the market share of SAP is 20.3%, whereas Oracle was 13.9% and Microsoft Dynamics was 9.4%. And the average implementation time, if you see, is the shortest for SAP, about close to 20 months. And the average cost of ownership is about $2.2 million. And the payback period is approximately 9 months. That is one of the reasons why SAP is preferred by many businesses. Now, who should be actually taking this course? Okay. Anyone who's planning a career in SAP, any consultant, a junior or mid-level consultant who wants to understand the business processes, who want to understand how each department functions, and SAP project team members who want to have an in-depth understanding of how SAP works. In the earlier days, before ERP was implemented, different companies had different softwares. And within a company, if you see, the sales department had its own software with its own database. The materials department had its own software and database. Production department had its own software, and logistics and finance department had its own software and database. All these databases were independent and none of them were integrated. So they were not talking to each other. So when a purchase order is received from a customer, that is punched in as a sales order in the company, and that sales order remains within the sales department. This information is not shared with the other departments like materials department or the finance department or the logistics department. And the communication was a challenge. And somebody has to communicate that these are all the demands or the orders that have been received for which the production department needs to produce, the material department needs to procure, and once it is manufactured, the logistics department needs to ship, and finally, the finance department need to invoice and follow up for the payments. There were several challenges as each department was working independently, and there was no synchronization between the systems or across the systems. Then came the ERP. ERP is an integrated system where you have a single database that is connected to the various departments. And apart from connecting to the various departments, they are also integrated. So, for example, when you receive a sales order or when you receive a purchase order, the sales department creates a sales order and the sales order data flows to the other departments. And when you run an MRP, the MRP looks at the sales order, understands that there is a demand, and then triggers the requirements. And based on these requirements, the materials department does the procurement. And once the materials are all procured and available, the production department processes these materials and completes the finished product. Once the finished product is available, these products can be shipped by the logistics department, and finally, the finance department can create an invoice and follow up for the payment. Once the ERP has come, it has made life easier for many companies, and the challenges that were existing before the ERP system was available has been eliminated. There are several operations and business processes that are being done by each and every department. And these departments, depending on the activity that they're doing or activity or processes that they're following, are well integrated with various other modules. So if you look at the diagram here, you will see that the sales department uses the ERP system and has a sales and distribution module. The materials department uses the materials module. The production department uses the production module. The logistics and execution department uses the LE module, and the finance department uses the finance module. There are several other modules that are available in the SAP system, and we will look at those in the subsequent slides. This is another diagram that represents the non-ERP system that are not integrated versus the ERP systems that are integrated. There are various SAP products that are available in the market. If you look at the SAP products, to name a few, you have the enterprise resource planning, which is called the ERP. You have supply chain management, which is the SCM. You have customer relationship management, which is the CRM, product lifecycle management, PLM, contract lifecycle management, CLM, and there are various other products that are offered by SAP. So depending on the customer and depending on what their requirement is, they can pick and choose the relevant SAP product and have them implemented for their company. SAP product, if you look at the naming convention, there are three major things that you need to understand here. One is the platform where the NetWeaver runs. And if you see in this slide, you have NetWeaver 7.4 and SP02, which is the Service Pack 02. And the system is ERP, and the enhancement pack is EHP 7. If you look at the platform, as time progresses, SAP has been coming up with the newer versions, and they've been releasing the newer versions of the NetWeaver. The previous version of NetWeaver 7.4 or 7.3, and each version has certain specific features that are available that the client can upgrade and start using these features. And on the enhancement package, if you see, there are different enhancement packs that are also released periodically, and the company can use those relevant enhancement packs and upgrade the enhancement pack to the latest pack that is available. SAP ECC stands for ERP Central Component. Sometimes it is commonly used or mentioned as SAP ECC instead of SAP ERP. They are one and the same. If you look at the various modules that are available in SAP, the majorly functional modules and technical modules. And the functional modules, if you see, there are several modules. We'll just name a few. Some of the functional modules are FI, which is the finance module, which is used by the finance team. CO, which is the controlling module, that is majorly used for reporting purpose. The sales and distribution module, which is used by the sales department for punching in the sales orders, for doing the various activities that are related to sales and distribution. The materials department uses the module for procurement purposes, and the warehouse management module is used by the warehouse department to manage materials at bin level. The production department uses the production planning module, which is commonly called the PP module, for production planning activities. If the company has plant maintenance, they can use the plant maintenance module. And if the company uses project systems, they can use project systems module. There are several other modules that are available. Depending on the company's requirements, these modules can be implemented. Majorly, finance module is used by the finance team for the reporting purposes, for the accounts payable, accounts receivable, and for various other functions. Here is a high-level diagram, the client server R3 diagram, where you can see the different modules that are available. And all these modules use ABAP as a programming language. So if you look at the technical modules, you have Basis, you have ABAP, you have BIBW, you have XIPI. If you look at Basis, Basis is more like system administration, which are done by the consultants, and is a very, very important module where they manage the system, take care of the upgrades, take care of the application of patches, and several other activities. And whenever a user needs access to SAP, the access is provided by the basis team. Similarly, whenever somebody has the account locked, the basis team helps in unlocking the system or helping them with the relevant authorizations that are required. Now, ABAP, as we said, is a programming language that is widely used in by SAP, and all the programs are written in ABAP. It is used to develop various applications in SAP. You can customize the applications, you can modify or enhance the applications. For any GUI based application development in SAP, we use ABAP. Suppose if you need a sales report, then you use ABAP to create a report. And once the report is developed, you can test it and have that executed. Similarly, if a procurement department needs a report, again, you need to use ABAP, which is a programming language, and develop the report depending on the requirement of the business. The BIBW is more of an analytical system where you process a huge amount of data. It is a separate system, and the information that is related to the business is processed and management reports are generated. You have BIBW consultants to do the BIBW work who can process the data, do a lot of data modeling, and generate the reports. XI and PI are the process integrators, and these are called the process integration. And when you have more than one SAP system connected to another SAP system or a non SAP system, you need a middleware that can communicate to both the systems. And at that time, you use XI and PI. When the data has to be sent from one system, say SAP system, to another system, then you have this middleware which will process and send the data. And XI or PI is integrated with both the systems. It is not mandatory to have XI/PI always or BI/BW, and depending on the company needs, the XI and PI can be implemented or BI/BW can be implemented. Next, let us look at what is SAP HANA. SAP HANA stands for High Performance Analytical Appliance. SAP HANA offers a comprehensive platform with in memory, column oriented relational database management system. The platform accelerates data processing through in memory storage for real time analysis. In memory database, all operations like read and write happens in memory. And the column stores enables massive data compression, partitioning, and access a secondary index. HANA has several other benefits and features. HANA DB includes dynamic aggregation, active and passive storage, real time analysis, and parallel processing across various CPUs. In SAP HANA, there are three major activities that are done. One is the data provisioning, the second is the data modeling, the third is the data reporting. If you look at data provisioning, that's where the online transactions are processed. For example, if you have an ECC system, in the data provisioning area, that's where you create data, like when you create a sales order or a purchase order, and then this data is then written. In short, it's called OLTP, which is online transaction processing, where we have ECC. And this data that is created needs to be written in tables. And once the data is available, you have data modeling and you have online analytics processing OLAP, sorry. which is BI, BW, or HANA. Data which is already available, you are just performing the analytics. Once you perform the analytics by creating views, then the next activity is to generate reports. The reports can be generated using Crystal Reports, UI5, or Fiori using OData. SAP HANA can be implemented in two ways. One, you can call that as a non-integrated implementation, and the second is an integrated implementation. In a non-integrated implementation, you have the SAP ERP with Oracle or MS SQL as a database where the business transactions are done, and these transactional data are written in the Oracle or MS SQL database. These data are then sent to HANA via SAP Landscape Provisioning Tool. So if you look at the system, you have the data being generated here or created here, and then this data can then be sent to HANA where you can do the data modeling via SLT or the landscape transformational tool, which is real time. So the moment the data gets created in SAP, the data immediately gets replicated or sent to HANA database. And you can generate your reports from the HANA database using Crystal Reports, UI5 or Fiori, and fetch the data using OData and generate the reports. There are various other softwares that can be used. You have BODS, which is a business object data services that runs as a batch. And say overnight, the data gets transferred from SAP system to HANA database. So instead of sending the data real time, the data can be sent in batches overnight to HANA database, and then the reports can get generated using any of the Crystal Reports UI5 or Fiori. So this is the high level diagram of how a non-integrated HANA looks like. In an integrated system, you have SAP Business Suite with HANA as the database. So when the data is actually generated, it is automatically written to the HANA database, and both the OLTP and OLAP activities occur in the same system. SAP is the only system that provides OLTP and OLAP activities that can be performed in one single system. Whereas the other softwares like Oracle or MS Dynamics, they do not provide this feature. Once the data is available in the integrated system, the reports can be generated using Crystal Reports, UI5 or Fiori. The advantage of having a HANA database is the data can be processed much faster than just using a non-HANA database. HANA, for example, uses in-memory processing and parallel processing, which makes it nearly 10,000 times faster. For an example, if a report takes about 8 to 9 hours to be generated in your ECC system, it may take about 30 to 40 seconds to be executed in HANA system. HANA consultants do the data provisioning, data modeling, and to some extent, data reporting. So in today's session, what we have actually seen are the basics of ERP software, what an ERP is, the different ERPs that are available in the market, the SAP Products and the naming convention, the modules in SAP, ABAP versus HANA, the how HANA can be effectively utilized for faster data processing. The trainings offered by eLearnerFlow include module, 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 PS module, SD module, and FICO module. So there are other sessions that gives a more detailed introduction to each and every module, which you can watch and understand the course contents and the training details. Thank you for watching the presentation on SAP ERP Basics and HANA. And for more on SAP course contents, you can visit www.elearnerflow.com and also check us out on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Thank you for watching this session.